This is Khatt Chronicles, design stories from the Arab world, presented to you in collaboration with Afikra. Hello everyone and welcome to Season 4 of Khatt Chronicles, co-produced with Afikra. My name is Huda Smitshuijzen AbiFarès and I have with me today my collaborators on this season, Yasmine Nachabe Taan, Yara Khoury Nammour, and Roshanak Keyghobadi. This episode will be introducing this new season's general theme and the confirmed guests we are looking forward to hosting. The season's overarching theme is graphic women from the SWANA region. We will be using as base for our selection of guests the research projects and discussion panels that have culminated in the extensive book entitled Revealing, Recording, Reflecting Graphic Women from Southwest Asia and North Africa. The book is divided around the themes of By Women About Women, Engage Image Making, Women of Letters, and Women Designers in the Diaspora. Each one of us will be tackling one of these themes or more, and interviewing a select group of guests whose work has been featured in this book. The book covers the works of more than 90 designers and visual artists, and so it will be impossible to interview every single one of them for our podcast. However, we plan to do this season, starting with interviewing some of them and possibly extending these interviews into Season 5. So the team, I say to you all, welcome back, and I'm looking forward to our collaboration this season and hopefully in the future. So let's start with Yasmine Nachabe Taan. Hi Yasmine, how are you today?
Hi Huda, hi everyone, hi Roshanak, Yara, everyone, hello.
It's good to have you back all, and it's good to have you, especially Yasmine and Yara, because you were with us from the beginning of this project, Khatt Chronicles, that started in 2019. And we are so happy that it is continuing and, gaining some popularity and some follow-up. So anyway, I would like you to kindly introduce this theme of By Women, About Women, and Image Making in your research interests. And also, you were also part of the panels and part of the research project, Revealing, Recording, Reflecting. So maybe you can talk about that and the selection of women you will be interviewing this season.
Definitely, sure, yeah. So I have a few minutes and I have all these things that I want to share with you, but I'm going to try to be as concise as possible. So I want to start by saying that if you want to know more about the Revealing, Recording, Reflecting project, there's a lot that you can read about under the Khatt Foundation website. So I encourage you to the book, of course. So the book is there, and there is a summary of the book and the information, what the book is about, and there's also information about this whole journey. And it's been around 3 years, Huda, I think, around 3 years that we've been working on the book. And I also want to add that Huda did an amazing job in designing this book that looks like a dictionary with all the pages. So my part was to focus. Well, the book focuses on what we call graphic women, and in my part, I spoke about how the practice of women telling stories about other women is not new in the region. Women have been telling stories and biographies about other women and in the past, starting with, I'm just going to give a few examples. The Arab female poet Al-Khansa in the 17th century, Queen Zenobia, the ruler of Palmyra, Mai Ziyadi, a Lebanese intellectual, wrote her own biography. So the question is, so what's new in our endeavor, in our initiative in this book? What's new is that the women that are in the book are not writing the stories, but they are telling the stories visually. And my chapter in the book focuses on stories of women telling stories about women, of course, using illustration. And the stories are no longer about queens, goddesses, royalties, religious figures, but they are about real women, mostly struggling women. And topics in the illustrations, we can see topics against injustice, sexual harassment, and colonialism, and of course about abuse of power and patriarchy. So this is for the revealing, recording, reflecting project book. And I'm going to continue by introducing the interviewees for the next podcasts that I will be working on. I'm excited that I'm going to have Aude Abu Nasser, Christina Ati, and Dima Nashawi. I'm just going to say a few words about each one of them. So Aude Abu Nasser is an illustrator and photographer. She's based in Beirut, and most of her work is influenced by her real life, her life as it happens. And unfortunately, we've been living through not easy times in the region. So most of her work is about the conflict, the Palestinian struggles, the refugees. And by that, I mean her illustrations. The next one will be Dima Nashawi. Dima Nashawi is an illustrator and an activist. She mostly advocates for the rights of children, Syrian children residing in Beirut, displaced children. They appear in most of her illustrations. And she founded the Syrian Culture Memory Initiative, and she is a clown. She disguises herself as a clown for children, to distract children from their sad daily living conditions. And the third interviewee is Christina Ati. I spoke with Christina Ati 2 days ago. She's an illustrator, a Lebanese illustrator based in Brussels. And her last design is entitled "It's Not Nice for a Girl." And she focuses in this design on society's expectations about girls' behavior, look, and attire. And when I spoke with her on the phone, she was reluctant to be part of our Khatt Chronicles because she said that she hasn't been active because of the situation. And I said, this is even more interesting because I believe that Khatt Chronicles podcasts are about speaking to illustrators and designers about the region, not just about the work, but also about how to deal with how to be an illustrator and a designer in conflicting time. And so with this, I end, and hopefully we will have the podcast soon, and you will enjoy them. I pass my.
Thank you, Yasmine. Thank you. It's okay. Thank you, Yasmine. Thank you very much for your insights and for sharing with us, what you will be working on. I would like to invite Yara to tell us a little bit more about her involvement in this season. Yara, you were part of the book as both designer and contributor to the chapter essay on ladies of letters. Can you say something about the importance of women typographers and designers in the region from your perspective as a practitioner and type designer yourself? And then maybe also introduce us to the few women that you selected and that you would be interviewing this season.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Huda, Yasmine, and Roshanak. It's been a pleasure to be part of this big project, and it's amazing to be really listed there and having such a nice contribution to the project. I haven't had the book yet, but I will have it soon, I guess. Well, I have something to say about women in the region and women designers, and probably more women in general also, which applies to designers and type designers and typographers. I think their role has always been vital. It has not been under the spotlight because of obvious, mainly social constructs that reward basically men more than women on their achievements. Women always think that they could do better. They set the bar high and maybe too high for their own good, I think. And what they do is never enough. They always think that they could be judged. They have to please everyone around them and are so apologetic somehow. I'm guilty of that. I'm growing and I'm learning how to not be that exactly. And that needs to change. I know so many women designers who are around me who have great type design work, who have great projects. They keep them tucked away somewhere. They are too shy to show them or to make them even public. But more and more with endeavors such as this book and others, we can see all of these contributions because of the shift And that shift is happening, and that change is happening. And the demographic is also shifting towards women, you see? I mean, especially when more than 90% of my students, and sometimes 100% of my students are women. Where do they go? What happens to them? Where does all their work go? So the question is, what does it take for a woman in the creative space to actually be acknowledged? And I think we're taking really great strides in that. It's something I think about a lot. I've noticed that while women are so prolific, actually they, in the quantity and quality of the work that they do, they can also be quite silent about it. And I think the importance of that, typographers and designers, women especially, they really need to talk about the work. I've heard it so many times when I was a student: do good work and talk about it. Do good work, talk about it. So, I mean, if you keep it hidden, it doesn't work that way. For the other question about who am I interviewing in the next season? By the way, I would like to note that, yes, we started in 2019, this endeavor, Khatt Chronicles. We're up to 35 episodes till now. I mean, this is amazing. We're such a small group in this vast environment of podcasts. And I think we're trying to do something much bigger than what we really are. We are instigating change. And when you look at the designers we're interviewing, they're mostly women. So I mean, there's quite a lot of women there also. So I think we also need to address these podcasts to students, educators, professionals, and I hope they're listening to us, and I hope they're listening to the interviewees and getting inspired, or else what's the point? So we've had an amazing lineup, and I think it's been a great trip so far. And for that, I will be interviewing some also great women designers as part of the theme. And we will start by the one and only Bahia Shahab, who I find and have been fascinated by her work. She has that endless energy that I want to understand more and more when I get to interview her. Where does she get it? What is her driving force? As she is involved in so many interesting and timely projects, needed projects that she does get to finish. I mean, she's an artist, an author who's based in Cairo. She's the professor of design and founder of the graphic design program at the American University of Cairo. And she's had a lot of international awards, some of them Prince Cloud, the TED Senior Fellowship, and others. She's also the founding director of Type Lab at AUC. Way to go, girl. And her latest publications, I mean, how timely can a history of Arab graphic design be? So she's co-authored this book, and I think there's a lot to talk about with her on that. I'm also interviewing, one of the other designers I'm interviewing is Naima Ben Ayed, who is a French-Tunisian designer who is not only designing Arabic typefaces, such as the newly designed one she released now in Typotech Arabic, and it's called La Grotesque. Super interesting typeface, but also she's an educator at heart, although she's not formally, I think, in the education field, but she's doing a lot of projects. And she believes in making type design pedagogy widely accessible to all. With her project Madrasat al-Masha', I think it's called Madrasat al-Masha' with Khajak Apeliad. She's doing that project. She's interested somehow in bridging the gap between different social, economic, and political factors for designers entering the field. Like, she wants to make it quite available. She's trying to imagine an alternative pedagogy for Arabic type design outside of the formal training a master's program can give. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Naima hasn't had a formal training in Arabic type design, which is super interesting. I'm not so sure, but I think she hasn't had that. She's doing a lot of workshops, and she's, yeah, that's all I can say. Maybe I'm mistaken about Naima, but I think she's done a few months here and there at Reading and KABK, but as a formal training, she hasn't had.
I think you have to discuss it more in detail with her, but I think she has
Maybe.
a master's in typography.
But not as a type designer.
No, but I think her biggest training is, of course, in practice. So maybe it's
Yes, exactly.
interesting to have this discussion.
Yes.
About what it means, to to study type design and to find your own way into it, and also your own way into Arabic type design, which is a different challenge, of course.
Exactly, just like me, because that's what I was interested in. Because she really, when I saw her work and saw about her, and I know her, I know Naima. I haven't seen anywhere that she's had any formal training as a full master's program in type design. So I was like, oh, she might have the same. We might share the same sort of path into Arabic type design.
Thank you so much for your enlightening and really wonderful intervention in this podcast, and all the nice words you said about this. So I'm very happy. Thank you. I would like to ask Roshanak today to talk a little bit about also her part in this podcast and her interests. You were part of the book also, like Yara, as both a designer whose work has been featured, but also as a contributor to a chapter essay on women designers in the diaspora. And I would love if you can talk about a little bit more about the importance of documenting specifically the work of Iranian women and your own research in this field, and also briefly about the designers you will be interviewing in this season.
Of course. Hello, everyone. Hi, Huda, Yara, Yasmine. So good to be here again with all of you. I'm going to do the reverse. I'm going to first introduce who I'm interviewing, and then I get to the details that you asked me. So for this season, I will interview two Iranian designers, Zainab Izadiar and Ghazal Furutan. Zainab is a graphic designer and textile artist based in New York. Lately, she has been creating custom one-of-a-kind items that are made with combination of carefully collected fiber materials and visual poetry created in different medias, drawing from words and written sounds in Persian, English, and Arabic. Ghazal is a graphic designer and design educator. She's teaching at California State University, and she has a social political focus in her work, especially advocating for design for good initiatives and women's rights. We will be discussing their recent projects, practices, and we'll talk about being a designer in diaspora. Interviewing Iranian women graphic designers is really important part of my ongoing research on this group. I'm trying to bring forward the voices and works of the designers who should be included in the histories of graphic design, and most of them are not. The original Revealing, Recording, Reflecting conference that I was part of was one of the reasons I started to look for more Iranian women designers and documenting their names and works. We can see some of them in the amazing Revealing, Recording, Reflecting book that was just published by Khatt Books. And Zainab and Ghazal works are featured in this book along with works of Sahar Afshar, who I also interviewed before for Khatt Chronicles. So basically my research is all about graphic designers, Iranian graphic designers, and trying to gather all the data and the information to have them seen, And I've been collaborating with People's Graphic Design Archive for some time, and they created this really wonderful safe space for me to put the information in there. The information and the data is all in Persian and English, so students in Iran especially can use it as a resource. And it's an ongoing project, so I'm still working on it.
Thank you very much for sharing your research and for sharing the stories about the women in a very brief way. So I hope we are giving enough teasers for everyone to want to listen to all the podcasts and kind of subscribe to it. I'm going to end with, I was also one of the researchers on the project, Revealing, Recording, Reflecting. And also I was very interested in the theme of women in diaspora, because I feel like it connects to my experiences, and also to looking, to this investigating what it means to practice outside of your normal cultural context, and how It forces you to be more culturally engaged, to think about, your position as a designer, to maybe also want to expand your practice because you're not going to practice in the traditional way. And also, it's very interesting to see that also the field has been changing a little bit. And so the traditional definitions are starting to blur. So in my in the series, or in the part that I will be, or the designers that I will be interviewing, I want to focus also on this idea of blurred borders in the way they use art, design, and technology in different ways. How they mix them, how they speak about identity. So, for example, we will be interviewing somebody like Zahar Homami, who is a visual artist based in Berlin. And although she's trained as a calligrapher in Iran, when she moved to Canada, she switched. She's more of a media artist, and she combines all these like traditional calligraphic art with new media and performance art. I will also interview somebody like Noor Saab. Noor is a trained graphic designer, originally from Beirut, based in London, and her artistic practice also uses Arabic calligraphy and calligraphic patterns like arabesque to create political messages, but then in products and in different materials. So taking them out of the book culture into the 3D world, and exploring various ways of working with the letter form, working with the construction of letters. I will also interview Kinder Rennoum, a graphic designer based in Brussels. Her work is quite vocal in engaging with Syrian culture through her projects, but especially through her co-founding of the Syrian Graphic Design Archive, which has been a great resource on the topic. And last person I will interview in the section is Golnar Adili. She's also a visual artist based in New York, and she also uses language, writing, memories, iconic graphic matter to create large-scale sculpture and installation. So she is using graphic language for non-graphic, or if you want to say non-graphic design media, and bringing it into the public domain, and kind of, bringing the culture and the voice and the identity in a new form, in a new material, in a completely foreign context. So these discussions will be hopefully interesting. I'm not going to talk too much again about them because I talked too much already on this podcast, and because also I think it would be really nice to hear their presentation of this. But everybody's been mentioning the book, so I would like to conclude this episode by inviting you, the listeners, to get your copy of the book, to read more and see more of the works featured in it, that we will cover some and not others. The book is available on the Khatt Books website at www.khattbooks.com. So please continue listening wherever you listen to podcasts. Feel free to rate us and follow us also on our Instagram and YouTube page. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye. Thank you for listening. This was Khatt Chronicles, design stories from the Arab world.